Welcome to the Rockabye Revenue Podcast with me, Abby Watson. I'm a mum of 4 and a business strategist, and I train people to become hypnobirthing teachers. In the last decade, I've built a thriving baby business that grew beyond my wildest dreams. This podcast is for you if you run a business or dream of running a business in the birth and baby industry. You want to change lives whilst making more money. I'm talking about creating sustainable income whilst being present for the people that matter most. I believe for our baby businesses to have the impact we desire, we must be rewarded. On this podcast, expect me to share actionable strategies without the jargon. I've been where you are. I've built a business while raising 4 little ones, and now I'm here to help you turn your passion into profit while creating the life you've always dreamed of. So let's get started. Hello, lovely one. How are you doing? I am talking today about something someone asked me that really got under my skin. And even a fortnight later, I can't stop thinking about this question that I was asked. Now, I don't actually think this is the first time I've ever been asked this question. I think it's quite a common question we ask business owners. But I want to tell you why it annoyed me so much and why I was almost offended by it, even though it was a question that wasn't intended to offend me at all. And I actually do think that the person who asked me this question was, actually asking me with really good intentions and, was making a bit of small talk and showing interest in my business. So when we were away recently, someone within our wider family and someone that I care about a lot was chatting to me about my work, and she asked me, is your business growing year on year? Now, that sounds like a really simple question, doesn't it? And one that could never possibly offend anyone. But here I am a fortnight later, and it's still there under my skin a little bit, and it's really irritated me. And I know why it's irritated me, but I also know it's a bit irrational. Now, firstly, I want to say this. This is not said with any judgment of the person who asked me this question. I'm sure I have asked similar questions to people before in the past, and I totally understand that the intention behind the question was not to offend me. It was not trying to put me down or anything like that at all. But anyway, why did someone asking me if my business was growing year upon year offend me? Well, I tell you why it offended me. It offended me because the last few years of my life have been beyond full on. My personal life has been more stressful than I could have ever imagined. My son was out of school for a whole year. We had to fight for him a place in a school that could meet his needs. And now we're in the same place with another one of our children. Plus, we've navigated assessments, diagnoses, all sorts of things with the kids, and it has been an emotional roller coaster. I mean, that's not even to mention the fact that 3 years ago, my eldest was actually under investigations for a potential brain tumour that absolutely, gratefully and so pleased to say there was nothing wrong. And, MRI scans and everything, blood tests, all sorts of genetic tests showed that there was no, major problem seen. And most likely when I reflect on it now, it was probably a major autistic burnout. But yeah, like the last 3 years have been really, really challenging. And I am a mum, and I know that even in families like mine, where I have a great husband who, you know, is a lot better than some dads I hear about, of course, the mother load is real. Life admin, stuff with the kids tends to come at my door. You know, who is it that the school rings when there's a problem? Who is it that goes to the speech and language appointments? Who is it that lodges the appeals for things? Of course, it's me, because ultimately, often there's one default parent, and yeah, that is me. So it has been a lot, a real lot, and you know, there's so much more I could tell you, but I don't want to like almost seem like I'm, you know, want you to get the mini violins out or anything. But I just really want to say that the reason this offended me so much was because I felt like my personal life has been a little bit on fire. So someone who really knows that, asking if my business has grown year on year, did feel a little bit dismissive of the whole extent of our real difficulties we've faced as a family. And of course, the impact that has had on me as the default parent, like my limited hours that I've been able to work on my business in the last 3 years. The fact that my head has felt like it was going to explode with navigating all these things. And the whole thing that is so true, that a mother is only as happy as their least happiest child. I mean, oh my gosh, that statement is so true. I wish it wasn't the case. I wish my emotional state wasn't reliant on the emotional states of my children, but it's actually proved really, really true in my situation. And it's been a lot. And there are so many examples of women who've been in similar positions to me, with children out of school, navigating, you know, difficult things, that have had to leave work. They've had no choice but to quit their jobs. I mean, yes, my son was out of school for a year, but my goodness, his challenges of getting into that building went on for like 2 years before that. You know, the meetings, the appointments, the worry went on for years before he was actually out of school. So lots of people, I mean, the vast majority would, of course, have had to give up work. And I would have had to. If I was in my former job as a secondary school teacher, or if I had any other employed role, I reckon I'd have had to give up work a long time ago. But the thing is, 10 years ago, well over 10 years ago, I did something brave at a time that maybe didn't feel perfect. I trained to do something new with 2 kids under 2, and I became a hypnobirthing teacher, and I built my business, and I never expected actually to have limited freedom when the kids were growing up. I actually expected to have more freedom. But actually, during this season of my life, I've had less time than I've ever had on my business. But thank goodness I laid those strong foundations early on. Thank goodness for Abby a few years ago that really worked hard, so that actually, whilst, you know, the shit was hitting the fan, I have been able to continue this business. and still get those 5-star reviews and still serve my clients really well because everything is structured so well and I have the support in place. So someone asking me, knowing that that's all happened in my life, if my business continues to grow year on year, just felt so dismissive of the reality of going through a situation like that. And it really made me think about that question. Is your business growing? And how, what does that even mean? So my answer to that question was no. For the last 3 years, my income, the turnover of the business has pretty much remained the same. And what I blooming wish I'd have said was, and how amazing is that? How amazing that what I earned 3 years ago when my life was far less stressful, far less busy, I'm able to do today on less hours with less headspace. That's growth. So maybe my answer should have actually been yes, you know? But the reason I want to talk about that on this podcast today is that sometimes the questions that people ask us about our businesses, we can maybe take to heart when it wasn't intended in that way. You know, the person who asked me that question, like I said earlier, was no doubt meaning it as perhaps a complimentary thing, like, oh, it looks so amazing. Like, is it growing every year? You know, like expecting it to because, you know, she thinks really highly of me, perhaps. But it was so easy for me to almost feel offended and almost feel like anything less than financial growth year on year meant that things weren't great. And that's not reality. And I wanted to talk about this on this podcast, Rockabye Revenue, where we do talk about business growth, where we do talk about it being okay to have amazing goals and being really ambitious in our businesses, doing something we love, helping people, and also being able to make money. And also saying to you, that doesn't always mean that the goal has to be increasing income all the time. Like, it's okay if growth means working less. It's more than okay, in fact, isn't it? It's okay that growth is having better boundaries or feeling that you can really switch off from work from time to time. It's okay if growth means, my goodness, you can take your foot off the gas and do other things in your life for a little while, whilst also your business generates you an income. That is all total growth. So, sorry, my phone keeps beeping. Don't know if you can hear it. I know what it'll be. It's that my husband's at home shouting the kids on Alexa and it gives me notifications. I've turned it on silent. Anyway, I can't even blooming remember what I was talking about. Just a quick interruption to let you know about something that I've got coming up for aspiring hypnobirthing teachers. Now, when I think about my years teaching hypnobirthing, oh my gosh, there are so many incredible moments. From getting that phone call saying, I did it, Abby, and literally it was like an hour after she'd given birth, to all the other benefits, like being able to be there for my kids when they needed me because I had this flexible job. Now, starting on the 21st of September, I am hosting my well-known 3-day free training. It is for you if you are curious about whether teaching hypnobirthing is for you. Over the course of 3 days, you will learn more about hypnobirthing, how to teach it, and how to build a successful business. And it'll help you decide whether this is the right path for you. Now, all you need to do to reserve your free space is head to the show notes where you will find the link to sign up. I really hope to see you there. But yeah, in hindsight, thinking back to that question, when I said, no, my business isn't growing year on year, and I justified it by saying, a lot's been going on, I've hardly had any time. Actually, I should have said, oh my gosh, yes it is. My business has grown to a place where I achieve a great income, yet I have more freedom than I could ever imagine. That should have been my answer. And yeah, my freedom is spent often filling in really emotionally triggering forms about my children. But, we won't go into that, eh? But that's what I really want you to take from this podcast episode today. What is it you want to grow? If you are wanting to grow your business, is it the income that you're wanting to grow? Or actually, are you really happy with what you're earning? And actually, it's something else that you want to get from it. Maybe it's more time for you. Maybe it's more flexibility. Maybe it's less time working in your business. Maybe it's being able to afford more support. So it's not just you doing it all, which has absolutely been really powerful in my business, even though I resisted it so much earlier on. So I'd love to know, as always, because I love to hear from you, what is it that is growth for your business? Is it financially, or is it something else? Because we're all different. And as much as the internet says that, if you're earning $2,000 months, your next target is $5,000 months, your next target is $10,000 months. As much as the internet and those marketing gurus tell you that's what you're aiming for next, in actual fact, it's what you want. It's your dream. It's your desire that matters. And the thing about business is, it's not always linear. Growth doesn't always have to be in an upward direction. It's okay for it to stay the same for a bit. That's no insult to you and your wonderful work. That actually might be because you are growing in so many other ways. And on that note about being offended by other people's comments about your business, really do what I did and think about the intention behind what they asked. Were they being mean, trying to be triggering, trying to insult you? Probably not. If you think about that person and you think, when they asked about my little business, and, if you're not watching this on video, you won't know that I used air quotes there. Are we thinking that when they said your little business, they were trying to kick you up the bum and offend you? Or actually just that how they refer to all types of businesses where someone is the sole founder? And yeah, it's annoying, but let's think about the intention behind it. We'd hope that people would do that for us, right? Like if we say something to someone and they get offended, we explain, don't we, that actually I didn't mean it that way. And we really hope that they hear us when we say that, Think about the intention and don't assume people are out there to offend you. So there you go. That's my TED Talk for this Tuesday. Next episode, I am going to be talking about how to make the most of your time on your business if you are a busy, busy mum. This is something that I know a lot about. Being a mum of 4, starting my business when I just had 2, but they were 2 under 2. You know, I've built my business as my children have grown. And even now, with 4 children between the ages of 7 and 13, life is still really full on, and in many ways more full on than when they were tiny. So I do know a thing or two about building a business even when you have very limited hours. So definitely listen to next week's episode, where I am going to be giving you so many tips on how it is possible, even if you don't have childcare, even if you don't have family on your doorstep, even if you're not getting much sleep. Because actually, building a business that has that flexibility is even more important for us busy mums, you know? But without finding the time and putting that effort in, we're not going to have that business that gives us the freedom and the flexibility. So that's what I'm talking about next time, and I cannot wait to chat to you then. As always, have a fantastic week and keep on changing lives. Bye! Thank you for listening to Rockabye Revenue. I hope this episode has left you with some fresh ideas and bundles of motivation. If you enjoyed this episode, do make sure you click subscribe so you never miss an installment. And if you found this episode useful, I'd love you forever if you leave a 5-star review, helping this podcast reach the ears of more of the helpers in this world. And remember, keep changing lives. See you next time.